Welcome back to Joe's Math Tools, where math is made easy. In our session today, we're using the division ladder to prime factorize our numbers. And this is part 1 in our series on division ladder. In our examples today, we're going to be expressing our numbers as a product of its prime factors using the division ladder. Now, when using the division ladder, there are some key rules that you need to remember. You need to remember that this ladder or this factorization method only uses prime numbers. So if you're not familiar with your prime numbers or you vaguely remember your prime numbers, I usually always suggest writing out these numbers first before you begin prime factorizing your numbers until you are familiar with them. So we're going to write out our prime numbers for our numbers less than 20. And our first prime number will be 2, then 3, 5, 7, 11, 13, 17, and 19. And when prime factorizing 27, remember that we're looking for a prime number that we can divide 27 by, and this number will divide into 27 completely without a remainder. So that's the next key point you need to remember, that your number must be divisible when it comes to dividing into your numbers. So there are no remainders in your division ladder. It has to divide out completely, or you need to find another prime number. So one prime number I know I can use is 3. And because I know that 27 when divided by 3 is equal to 9, then I'm now going to take this 9 and place it in my root underneath my 27. So I'm now going to be looking for a prime number that I can divide 9 by without a remainder. And again, I can use 3. So 9 divided by 3 will equal to 3. And remember to write your number in the front. Don't forget it the way I did. Make sure that you write those numbers in as well. So 3 will now be written in our root underneath our 9. And now we're going to find another prime number that we can divide 3 by. And of course, we can use 3 again. So 3 when divided by 3 is equal to 1. And for my division ladder, I usually like dividing until I reach the number 1. Because I know that 1 is not a prime number, and because the only number that 1 is divisible by is 1, I know that once I reach 1 in my division ladder, I am done prime factorizing my number. So now to express 27 as a product of its prime factors, and remember that these numbers on the left hand side of your division ladder, or the numbers that you divided by, the numbers that you divided with, are what's going to be your prime factors. So my prime factors for 27 will be 3 times 3 times 3. And here's a key point I want you to remember, that these numbers or these prime factors that you use are supposed to be products of 27. So that means that when I use or when I multiply these numbers again, I should get 27. So that's one key thing that you can do to check your answer. So we're going to do a quick little check just to make sure that our number is equal to 27. So I know that 3 times 3 is equal to 9, and 9 times 3 is equal to 27. So if you multiply these numbers together and you do not get the number that you started with, that's a good indication to you that you need to go back and check your division, because there's a good chance that something you divided was not divided correctly. So after you've expressed these numbers as a product of its prime factors, we're now going to be writing our answer in index form. And in index form is just your power form or your exponent form of this number. So 3 to the power of 3 will be my prime factors in index form. Let's try another example. Feel free at this point to pause the video, express 64 as a product of its prime factors, and then when you're ready, you can unpause the video and work along with me. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is set up our division rule for 64. And now we're looking for a prime number that we can divide 64 by. And because 64 is an even number, the number that I know that I can get started with right away will be 2. Because I know that every even number is divisible by 2, I know that 64 can be divided by 2 without a remainder. So 64 divided by 2 will equal to 32. And that 32 again goes underneath your 64 in the division ladder. So we're now looking for a prime number that we can divide 32 by. And I know that 32 is also even. So 32 divided by 2 will equal to 16. And my 16 is going in my division ladder underneath 32. So we're looking for a prime number that we can divide 16 by. And again, 16 is even. So I know I can divide by 2. So 16 divided by 2 will equal to 8. My 8 will go in the division ladder underneath 16. And a prime number that we can divide 8 by is again going to be my 2. So 8 divided by 2 is equal to 4. And our 4 goes in the ladder underneath our 8. And 4 can again be divided by 2 because 4 is also an even number. So 4 divided by 2 will equal to 2. Placing our 2 underneath our 4. And for our last number, an even number that we can divide 2 by is of course going to be 2 again. So 2 divided by 2, let me correct that, is equal to 1. So once we reach 1, we know that we are done prime factorizing our number. And we're now going to express 64 as a product of its prime factors. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 2's. So that's going to be 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 times 2. And again, if you want to check, remember that 2 times 2 is going to be 4. 4 times 2 is equal to 8. 8 times 2 is equal to 16. 16 times 2 is equal to 32. And 32 times 2 is equal to 64. So once our numbers work out, that means that we have prime factorized our number correctly. So now let's go ahead and express 64 prime factors in index form. And we counted 6 2's, so this is going to be 2 to the 6th power. Okay, so I hope this video was very helpful for you. I hope you were able to follow along easily and was able to prime factorize your numbers along with me. Remember to get some additional practice in, develop your skills, and when you're ready, we'll be right here in the next video on Jules Math Tools, where we make math easy.